fully.
Well, I'm approaching about 2 hours here online, so I'm also going to jump out.
Okay,
Gavin,
Richard.
it was nice to make your acquaintance.
All
Jacob,
right.
I'm sure the stream is in good hands.
Yeah,
Right.
I want to point this out, right? Like that straightforwardness. Like it's just a cultural thing. Like it's not, and it's also the acceptance of authority. Like, can you participate in what is presented to you, right? And yeah, like if you get offended, then you and you keep stuck in the offense, then some other spirit will manifest.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about, and I don't really care.
Yeah, I know you don't care. Like you're more of my side. It's like, yeah, just deal with the things that are there and like stop worrying about the other stuff.
What were you guys talking about?
Oh no, like like Richard took offense to me participating in the conversation because he found that the spirit that I brought and was disrupting the personal relationship that he was developing with Gavin, and then he started becoming passive aggressive towards me.
I'm kind of glad Richard decided to hop off by himself, because once Gavin left as the host of this Just Chatting stream, I was going to tell Richard either he apologizes for his behavior the last time he was on one of my streams, or I'm kicking him off.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, he's not gonna apologize. That's he made that clear, right?
Well, that was the whole point. When the last time he was on the stream, he was being completely like, it was obvious that the whole Hunter Biden thing came up, and
yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, actually, what I did want to talk about on the stream today was how insane Sam Harris is. But it's the same thing. Like, when you cannot admit that somebody made a point, like there's no conversation to be had. Like, if there's no if you're just an NPC and there's no way that you can be like, okay, you know what, you have a point there, then why am I having this conversation?
Okay, so I want to engage with this because we went into the authority claim, right? Mm-hmm. So if we're gonna put this in the context of Sam Harris, so that Jacob can be happy too. So the way that Sam Harris can get outside of his idiotic bubble is by accepting the authority of others when they make a proclamation, instead of saying, no, like science says blah blah blah, and my meditation says this, and that's the end of the world. Like, so when I say you need to accept my authority, that means that I have experience and I have insight that I profess is true, right? And you can say, well, I don't know you, so like I don't know whether to accept your authority, right? But I would argue, like, you don't need to know me in order to accept my authority. Like, you can just participate in good faith because you can see that I'm in good faith, and just assume that I'm speaking true until you get evidence that says otherwise. And that's what like Sam Harris needs to do. Like, Sam Harris needs to accept the other reality, look at the world through the perspective that is presented in this potential, and then he can realize how he's limited in what he sees. And if he never does that, he's always going to be stuck. And so there's two attitudes that you can have. One attitude is, oh, the people that are in front of me are good, and they're trying to reveal something of the world that has been hidden from me. Or you can say, no, I know better, and you're an idiot.
Well, sometimes I do know better and you're an idiot. And sometimes I don't know better. And there, again, I have to say, this comes down to whether or not you're an NPC and you're programmed, and there is no way, there's nothing I can say which will change your mind. Then there's no conversation to be had. If there is a capacity for you to actually consider what I am saying, and for me to consider what you are saying, and for us to actually engage with each other, then that's something very different. And so, yeah, I mean, what can I say?
So what I think is really important is that you know what you don't know. Right? Like when you start realizing, okay, these are the things that I actually know, and these are the things I don't know or don't fully know, then you have a better way of evaluating your relationship with the other person, right? Because like the way I see authority, right, is, do I know more than the other person, or does that person know more than me?
And that's a factual question. That is a factual question. Do I actually know more than the other person? Does what I believe about whatever we're talking about correspond to reality better than that other person? And that is an actual empirical, factual, falsifiable proposition.
Right. Well, yeah, but when you get into the nuance, it becomes more difficult, right? But okay, so when we're talking about authority, right? Like the way I talk about it is, there's something that is revealed, right? Like something of the true nature of reality or whatever that's revealed to a person, right? And because that is revealed to that person, that person can speak with authority, right? So they're channeling something that is not of themselves to reveal it to you in some lesser sense, and so it's revealing something of the author, right, by me authoring my speech in a way that I try to communicate it to you.
Okay.
And so authority is not from me, right? Like it's not me. It's because I have access to something else. That's where the authority comes from.
Right. Something outside of us, and something that is real. And reality is an important part of authority and knowledge, which postmodernists can't seem to understand. I will be right back. You have fun monologue.
Yay, monologue. Okay. So yeah, so if you're the highest authority yourself, right? That means that you close yourself off from sources outside of you being authority. Now, that has one effect, which is why people do it. It makes you feel safe, right? Like it disallows you to be betrayed, right? Because if you misjudge the external authority, right, or like if the external authority misguides you, then you're screwed. And that's a valid criticism of authority, right? But the case that I'm making and is that when you don't open yourself up to the authority that is vested in other people, then you limit yourself, right? You limit the access that you have to reality. And while it is a state of vulnerability that you have to engage in to accept the authority of others, it also means that you open up a potential, like you open up new ways of being, and the claim that I'm making, and Christianity and other faiths are making, is that is good and necessary. And I also think that's the way that we commune. Like we commune with each other by sharing revelations and then seeing the same thing, right? And then having a sense of shared reality, right? Which gives us means of trusting each other, right? So I think when we're saying I need to trust you first before I listen to your authority, I think we're having it backwards, right? Like you listen to someone's authority, right? And when the fruits of that authority are manifest, that's when you trust the person. Like that's how you gain trust in the person. Right? And when you do it the other way around, you're basically blocking yourself from proper participation in the world.
Apparently, people want to talk about not authority.
Well, not authority is opinion, and we can talk about opinion, but it's also irrelevant because it's opinion.
Opinion is not irrelevant. That's just plain wrong. Opinion is important. People's opinions matter. I like chocolate. That is a fact in the world.
Yeah. What does it have to do with me? Like,
you live in the same world, and to the degree that we have a relationship, which hopefully we do, it matters that I like chocolate.
mm-hmm. It could matter, yeah. Like, yeah. Well, but okay, but yeah, we're getting, yeah. Well, I like, yeah, exactly. I like this idea, right? Like, well, I don't know if you should argue opinions. I guess it allows you to do some sort of exploration when you argue your opinions, right? And in some sense, it invites you into different relationships with reality, right? Like it invites you
White
to
chocolate is not chocolate, and it should not be called chocolate. White chocolate should just be called sugar milk. That's it.
I don't think chocolate manifests itself in the realms of authority. I just think it manifests itself in the realms of opinion.
Sorry, we were just plain wrong. Arguing opinion is fun and healthy competition. Father Eric, can you jump on? We would love for you to jump on.
I have a different opinion about it. Let's argue about it.
Bob Elvis ate white chocolate. It's just, I'm sorry. Why anybody would do that? Yes, dark chocolate has high authority. There we go. Yeah.
I like this, right? Like, so the experience of the dark chocolate gives it its authority. There you go. I'm just doing 1 + 1 = 2 with the chat.
Don't make me ban you from the chat. Father Eric actually has to work. Why anybody actually works? Do what I do. Sit at home. Do nothing.
Eat chocolate.
Eat chocolate. There we go. Yeah. Okay, people. There has to be something else that's worth talking about. There are 16 people watching.
What is your opinion about opinions?
So, Manuel, how have you been? What have you been up to in life?
I actually have been having a really bad time. I had my tonsils removed, and that made a bunch of stuff a lot better, but my energy levels have been really, really low. So
Mm. Yeah, one of my nephews has been sick a lot lately, and apparently he needs to have his tonsils out.
and I actually got myself a massive beanbag there, like massive, massive.
Okay, looks good. Looks good.
So that was yeah, maybe the biggest mistake or maybe the best idea ever.
Have you been following what's going on in Germany with their church?
No, I don't think so.
You're not Catholic, are you?
No.
I just figured, as somebody who's closer to Germany, do you know German?
Ich spreche ein bisschen Deutsch, ja.
I figured you would have a better idea of what's going on, but apparently the Catholic Church in Germany is getting closer and closer to being in schism with Rome.
Oh, fascinating. Also, not surprising because Germany again, but whatever.
They created the first Reformation, and now apparently they want to do it again.
Yeah, they have all this rationalist stuff going on there. It's like, we know better.
It's called the synodal way. What denomination are you?
Me? I don't know. Non-denominational.
You're a mere Christian, is that it?
Well, I would argue that yeah, it's just the following that defines you, and then
But you're still a Trinitarian?
um, depends on how you frame that, but probably yes.
Okay. Do you believe in a thing called a Trinity?
I believe that there's three aspects of reality, and that God manifests in all three of them. Yes.
Three aspects of reality. Okay. And the aspect called the Father, is he the only one who is ase?
I'm pardon. Ase? What's that word?
ASEI.
I don't know what that means.
Meaning uncaused.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Father is the only one who's uncaused. So how are the other two aspects of God if they're caused?
Because they're in a different dimension.
They're in a different dimension. Interesting. Yeah, I just love getting to the point where it's clear Trinitarians have no clue what they're talking about, and then
Oh no,
drop them.
No. Like when I say it's in a different dimension, right? It's
Yeah.
in a different. Well, I think when things manifest, right? Like we have three aspects, right? We have the true, the good, and the beautiful, right?
Okay. So which one is God the Father? Is he true,
Well,
good, or beautiful?
Well, the Father is good. Christ is true.
But he's not true?
No, because it doesn't make sense in that dimension.
Okay, before I get you excommunicated from whichever church you go to, we should probably change the subject.
No. The truth is a relational quality that emanates from him. Like it's not like truth doesn't make any sense outside of a relationship.
Truth doesn't make any sense outside of a relationship. Interesting. Have you ever heard of divine simplicity?
Yeah, but I can't. I'll have to look that up. I'm accurate about it.
I
But I heard
am.
about it.
I am not going to get you into trouble. It's fine.
No, I won't
It's
get
fine.
into trouble. Like,
okay. My
but
my
I'm like
my
I'm
food's
I'm
warm in
actually
the
not
microwave.
so
I'll be
interested
right
in the
back.
nature of God, because I actually think that talking about the nature, like God Himself, is problematic, and so like I'm interested in talking to my relationship with God, which is like has different, yeah, it's just different. So yeah, I'm saying that truth is contextual. It's the consequence of an agent uh, within something outside of him, either actually conforming to what is there or not. Like,
Interesting. Very, very interesting. So, is your relationship with truth or with beauty or with goodness?
all three at once.
All three at once.
They
Okay.
co-manifest at the same time.
Is your relationship with God the Father, God the Son, or God the Holy Spirit?
I have a relationships with all three. Like, what do
You have a relationship with all three.
Yes.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Father Eric says all three are aspects of being. Father Eric, do you have a relationship with? Well, maybe I should say direct
He has to.
relationship with all three.
I like the
I'm
comment that
sorry.
says incarnation is hard for Flores to define.
I'm sorry, but I'm starving, so I'm eating. As is Andre. You're the only one not eating. This is rude of you to sit there and not eat while we eat, Manuel.
So let me tell you how I see it, right? Like, when I have a relationship with you, right?
Yeah.
There's you, right,
Yeah.
which is ineffable to me, right?
I am
There's,
ineffable to you.
yeah, like, I don't know what's going on in your mind, right? Like there's something that I cannot capture. It's always beyond me,
Okay.
right? And then there's our relationship, right?
Okay.
And then there's what I perceive of you, right? How that impresses me. That's three different things.
Benjamin Franklin has figured out my problem and why I'm not a Trinitarian. I am trapped in temporality, apparently.
That sounds like a common problem. People living in a time.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and so, yeah, to use this, right? So I can know you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or aspects of you, because I can't know you as such, right? I can't know your true name, but
Right.
I can know of you through my relationship with you.
I see.
So
I see.
things of you can be revealed when I participate with you.
Interesting. And we have a rabbi in the chat. Hello, Rabbi. Our
Mazel tov.
discussion from Wednesday has been causing quite a stir with much commentary.
Is this a real thing, actually? Because I never heard of this.
I mean, I'm pretty sure William is anti-Tron. I think William is actually part of the Hebrew Roots movement. You're still upset about it, Rabbi. I considered writing you a long email, but I didn't write it. I have to say, there are aspects of what I would call hyper-literalism of the Bible, which I think a lot of people fall into these days, and I don't think they're halakhic. Yes, the Torah is definitely not fairy tales. Okay, the example I thought of bringing up, and you're certainly welcome to jump on if you can, Rabbi. But, so let's say somebody says, Jacob kissed Rachel, right? They're like, Pashat, aim, right? That Jacob kissed Rachel. I would say that's a problematic understanding of what happened in the Torah that can lead someone to very bad places, and that is not how we understand what the Torah is saying when it says Jacob kissed Rachel. And it is not self-evident that we are not meant to not believe that what Moses wrote about Abraham did not take place. Okay. Jacob, are you going to introduce us to this Rachel character? I meant Jacob, our forefather, and Rachel, our foremother. I have not actually, I am none of the people I have dated ever have been named Rachel that I remember.
Rachel, I just met her. Anyway, yeah. So I've heard you have a lot of objections to Paul, the apostle, right? Can you give me like a 4-sentence problem there?
Sure. He compares himself to Moses, and he condescends to Moses. He says, we are not like Moses, who wore a veil to hide the fading of the light.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I believe him. He's not like Moses. GTFO.
Okay.
I mean, he says that. He says, we are not like
the
Moses.
whole objection. Like he's arrogant.
Well, you wanted.
No, it's fine.
Basic.
So basically, you're saying he's an arrogant prick.
That's a part of it. Yeah, that's where it starts. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
When you condescend to Moses, that speaks about you, not about Moses. Jesus never condescended to Moses, and he was Jesus.
Yeah, but he did to David. But yeah.
He did what?
He did to King David, right?
Condescend to King David? I don't know that he condescended.
Yeah, he said he has to call me
Rabbi. I would be very, very careful here. No, Jacob did not physically kiss Rachel before they were married. That is not how we understand that verse here, and this is part of my problem. This is, yeah, that is not Pshat of what happened there. And it is a very problematic understanding. Yes, Rabbi. Yes. It is based on, we understand the kiss not to be a physical kiss, and that is based on what all our rabbis have taught for a very long time. There's a reason why I picked that particular instance to read that particular scene in the Bible. Kepshuto is Rabbi. Okay.
What's this word that you don't understand?
Oh, shot. The surface level meaning of the Bible.
Oh.
Genesis 29:11. Let me pull up Genesis 29:11. So, Jewish understanding of the Bible starts with what is called the Pshat, which is the surface level understanding of what did I say? Genesis 29:11.
Yeah.
Genesis 29:11. And Jacob kissed Rachel and raised his voice and wept. Rashi, because he foresaw by the Holy Spirit that she would not be buried with him in Marat HaMachpelah, because of Eliphaz. Okay. Let's see. I thought this verse is. I did not prepare this. Wow, Josephus. I didn't know Josephus talked about this verse. Okay, Rabbi, I'm going to have to find my sources for this because I do not have. Rabbi, I am pretty sure Rabbeinu Bechaya says it's okay. Let's look at Rabbeinu Bechaya. Rabbeinu Bechaya. Sorry, I'm gonna switch to Hebrew just to make sure I'm getting it correctly. וישק יעקב קטנה הייתה שלא הייתה עדיין ראויה לבעל, ועל כן מסר לבן הצאן וידע. Okay, so he's understanding it that she was so young that it was okay for him to actually kiss her. That is how he explains the possibility of נאמר שהנשיקה הזאת הייתה נשיקת הראש או הכתף, כי לא אמר הכתוב בפי רחל. Right? So he's saying either you have to say that she was so young that he could have kissed her, or that he kissed her on the head or on her shoulder, not an actual kiss on her mouth. So, I mean, he's saying you can't say you can't understand it pshat that he went up to her and he kissed her. I'm sorry, but like this is not an acceptable way of looking at what happened there. As far as I know, from everything I know. What does the Siftei Chachamim say? Lama אתה בחד. No, that's not it. Thank God. Well, no, I'm sorry. This is not a no. This is not a push. This is you cannot understand two things which you cannot understand, and I have no one finds this phrase troubling enough to even comment about, aside from Rabbeinu Bachaya from classical Pashtanim. I understand that actually very differently than you understand it, because I think that the classical Pashtanim understand that it cannot possibly be. You cannot understand. You just went through all of Shir Shirim. What does it say? The Torah wears sackcloth when someone understands it kipshuto. Rabbi, I'm going to have to look up my sources for this because I did not prepare and I was not expecting this. But there are definitely, and I gave a few from Genesis, the beginning of Genesis, to mix things that are allegorical with things that are pashut is a huge problem. Yes, Shir HaShirim is Shir HaShirim. It's poetry, not narrative. Yes, and obviously Shir HaShirim is Shir HaShirim, but there are other. Can you understand what it says about Reuven and his mother's bed, kipshuto? Chalila, you can't understand that. Kipshuto. There are many places in scripture where you cannot understand things just like a child does. I'm sorry, Rabbi, but like this is not. I think I completely understand what you were saying about the Torah cannot be taken as a type of fairy tales and guess what? Everyone jumps on that in comments. Good. Rabbi, so there are places in the Torah where you cannot take things according to what a child who reads them. That's what I'm saying. When the comments are absent, it's because no commentary is necessary. Is a double-edged sword, Rabbi. That is a very double-edged sword, and you know that is a double-edged sword. Because the question becomes, why is no comment necessary? Is it because they had no question in their mind? Or because There are places, not the whole Torah. Exactly. There are places. Right. Chas v'shalom. Like, please do not misunderstand me. I am not saying that it is okay to treat the Torah like fairy tales. I am not in any way saying that it is okay to be like, but what I am very clearly saying is that it is not great. Rabbi, I would love for you to jump on, and there was a reason why I considered writing. I am not gaslighting, Rabbi. That's just me. I am not gaslighting.
Now he's gaslighting. He's trying to gaslight you.
What I am saying is that yes, the Torah's narrative is telling us the truth. Yes, and you're in Texas, so it's 2 hours later, and it's going to be Shabbat, and I didn't actually write the whole thing I was going to write, and the discussion has sparked a lot more discussions, and I have to say, like, in some sense, it's kind of funny because on one side I have Chazi, who takes things far, far, far beyond what I think is acceptable. At the same time, Rabbi, I think that some of the ways you look at how pashut things are, you're also ein cholken harav, kavod larav. It is at a point where I think that even out of kavod, I have to say, you're taking things a bit farther than I think might be completely thought through in reaction to a very real concern that people are dismissive of the factual basis of the Bible. The Bible is factual. It is in fact telling us how the world was, and that does not mean that we can turn it into complete allegories all over the place. At the same time, the Bible is not a historical or scientific or a presentation of the facts in that manner. I am not taking things anywhere. I'm leaving them right where they are. You're stretching them beyond credulity. With all due respect, and I have to say, with all due respect, I believe what you may be expressing is a reaction to how people yes, Moses was the meekest man on earth with his own hand yes, he with his own hands. Yes, there's no question. I get this from Christians a lot. They say to me, hey, you're turning everything into an allegory. For example, when it says God spoke to Moses face to face, there are Christians who are like, see, that was Jesus. And I'm like, no, that was not Jesus. And they say, oh, but in another place, Moses asks to see God face to face, and God says that he can't see God's face. So that's one of their proofs on their supposed proofs on the Trinity, which I think is clearly mistaken, because We are not going to agree. I believe it is self-evident that you are wrong, and you're entitled to your view. I simply vehemently disagree. Rabbi, I don't believe it is self-evident that you are wrong. At the same time, I think you are stepping in places that I would highly recommend you speak to your own rabbis about. Because I think where you are going is a place that I have seen a lot within Orthodox Judaism, of which is taking a hard position in order to stand against something which is clearly wrong, which at the same time might cause you to, in pulling against where other people are pulling, you have to be careful not to go too far. I have too much respect for you and your intelligence to believe that you can comfortably believe what you're saying. What can I say, Rabbi? The allegorical, the analogical, the metaphysical, and the literal, Rabbi. Let them dialogue, let them argue, don't hold to one too much. You can't read literally without a metaphysics. I'm so laid back on this topic. You're just going way too far. Rabbi, if you think I'm going way too far, there are Orthodox, there are modern Orthodox rabbis who are mamish kofer be'ikar. And I like where I am standing is I don't think you may be a Father Eric says, Rabbi Mullet, I'd hate to see you riled up. Well, this is just being a thing. I know there are much bigger apikorsim than you. Yes, there are much bigger apikorsim than me. But I have to ask you, Rabbi, if those people are apikorsim and they are kofrim beikar, then the question becomes, and they act as misadrei kedushin, and they write Torahs, and Rabbi, the halachic implications of where you draw the line of apikoros are they are many. Are you guys entertained by this?
Yeah, until you started using the crazy words.
That's part of the problem. And again, I have to say, Rabbi, this is one of my major problems with where I think Orthodox Judaism is now. Like, whether someone is a kofer beikar may be a question for an actual, whatchamacallit. I don't have one of my hats around here, and my thing is starting to bother my head. I don't have a cushion between my head and my whatchamacallit. What was I saying? That's it. Whether or not what I'm eating is kosher is also a question for poskim, obviously. But to say that's a question for Poskim, Rabbi. Like, we're talking about the Ikarei Emunah. I'm with you that too much of orthodoxy is too far to the right and reactionary and all that. I'm just saying that I'm perfectly I'm glad to hear you're perfectly level-headed, Rabbi.
I think he's second next to Moses, like the most humble person.
You have to realize he's also kind of joking. He is kind of joking.
Yeah, well, I obviously wasn't joking. Like.
We are arguing about what is Pashut Pshat and what is not Pashut Pshat. How is that not clear?
They're basically arguing about how deep you should dive in the text and what the implications are for your life. I think that's basically the summary, and I think what I've been experiencing with people is that they draw associations and then they're like 2 or 3 steps in. It's just with chess, right? Like you're 3 or 4 steps in, and you just lose the overview. Like you lose sight of the overview. You get narrowed onto what you're dealing with. Yeah, it's like, why are you even going there? Like, do you need to?
Okay. I think I have to defend what Rabbi Mullet is saying, because we have a lot of people who are willing to allegorize and analogize the Bible to being merely fairy tales, and that's a huge problem. It is a very, very huge problem. At the same time, I think that in response to those people, we should not. There's a reason I keep on pointing to Genesis 1:2. We very manifestly do not believe that when Genesis 1:2 says that the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters, that it's talking about water like this water. Like, there is no water like this water in Genesis 1:2. And I think Rabbi Mullet would also agree with me about, I hope he also would also agree with me about that. And it's possible that some 5-year-old, when he's reading Genesis for the first time, he would understand it that way. But hopefully, once he learns more Torah, he understands that that type of understanding is manifestly wrong. And there are other places that are similar, and where exactly the line is on how the details of the descriptions of the Torah correspond to a simple understanding of it. I agree that is a valid view, but I disagree that no one understands it literally. I'm sorry, Rabbi. Genesis 1:2, if you understand that water to be water, like physical water, that is manifest kafira. That is manifest kafira. Such a thing is manifest kafira, and I don't. This is where I would say, please ask your own rabbi. Seriously.
So I have a question, right?
Yes.
Like most of these things, right? Like whether they're literally true or not is kind of not relevant.
Rabbi, please ask your own rabbi. Please. I mean, this is a place where I'm saying you are going somewhere which is it is shockingly not. Yes, God had not created the oceans yet. God had not created water yet. Rabbi, please, is it wrong for me to ask you to please ask your rabbi? I'm asking you to check with somebody you trust. This is not Jacob speaking. Who am I to speak? Who am I? Like, I think where you're going is to a point where it is actually beyond what is the gather of halacha. I would, Rabbi. Right now, my Discord rabbis are Chezi and Yosef and you, and Chezi and Yosef mostly because you don't have time to be on the Discord. I'm too neo-Hasidic. Could be. There's no question that I make many mistakes.
But
Okay.
but to go back, right? Like
Yeah.
most things, right, that are written down is inconsequential whether they're literally true. Because like I wouldn't know what the implications for me would be.
Correct. Okay. So let me stop talking with the Jewish stuff. Let's talk more along the lines of Vervaeke stuff and Jordan Peterson stuff.
Uh-oh.
We talk about propositional tyranny, right? We talk about propositional tyranny. We talk about Enlightenment, rationalism, and literalism. One of the things that has really made an impression with me is when Vervaeke said that part of the problem in our
What an ass! Like, jeez.
hey, you don't know how Jews talk to each other.
Well, you don't know how I
in
talk to
Hebrew.
Jews.
So one of the things that Vervaeke said, which I thought was very important, was he said that the shape of the God-shaped hole in the atheist community, right? The shape of the God-shaped hole, the God that they don't believe in, was formed by Martin Luther.
Okay, maybe.
So when we talk about propositional tyranny, which I think everybody in this low corner agrees is a huge problem, is tyranny of the propositional beyond other types of statements and knowing and truth.
Mm-hmm. Which is actually the thing that Paul talks about, even though you find him an arrogant prick.
Oh, you mean Saul of Tarsus?
Yeah.
No, he's just an idiot. That's beside the point. We can go there later. What we end up with is a form of when we reject propositional tyranny, is a form of postmodernism, which seems to say that propositions don't matter. That when I say, so if...
No, that's not what Vervaeke claims. Like
that's not what Vervaeke claims at all.
Okay,
No. Obviously not. That yes.
Okay.
Vervaeke is not saying propositions don't matter.
No. But Vervaeke is claiming that the propositional tyranny is actually from science, not from the postmoderns. But
propositional tyranny is from the science. Yeah, scientism, right? That is scientism, and it is a sort of propositional tyranny. Sam Harris,
which is the thing that the postmoderns are rebelling against, actually.
Correct. Yes. Right. Yes. And so it's wrong to fall into propositional tyranny, but it's also wrong to fall into postmodernism. And so part of the discussions that we were having in this in this little corner included 2 examples. If you have a gun, you always treat it like it's loaded, even when it's not loaded. And porcupines throwing their quills, even though we know that porcupines can't project their quills.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, a lot of people think, oh, okay, so it doesn't matter that we pretend that the gun is loaded even when it's not loaded. And they have this idea that, okay, so every gun is loaded.
I just want to say I
okay
don't
thing.
agree with the word pretend. I think we should use a different word.
Which word would you use?
Act as if, because for, like, acting as if is accepting a reality, while pretending is actually refuting it.
Yes. So you are saying what was the point of where I was going, which is that the actual facts do matter, and saying that porcupines can project their quills. So honestly, it's funny. Let's go back to the Jewish stuff. So in Genesis, what was the sin of the what was the sin of the tree? Who sinned first, Adam or Eve?
Adam.
Adam sinned first. How did Adam sin first?
Well, I don't think Eve sinned because she didn't know the full commandment.
So the Jewish explanation is Adam sinned first because when you look at the verses very carefully, you see that God says to Adam, "Do not eat of the fruit." He doesn't say anything about touching the tree. He says, "Don't eat of it."
Mhm.
Then God creates Eve. Then the serpent comes and speaks to Eve and says to Eve, "Is it true that you can't eat of the fruit?" And Eve says, "Yes, we cannot eat of it. We cannot even touch it."
Right, which means that she doesn't have understanding of what she's participating with.
Yes, but so the Midrash explains that the serpent then pushed her into the tree, and she touched it, and she saw that she did not die, and that's why she thought that she could also eat it, because Adam had told her, "Don't eat it, don't touch it, you will die if you touch it." But that's not what God had said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that's similar to the loaded gun. And we consider this to be an incredibly important lesson. I get Christians constantly who have this silly belief that it's possible to confuse the Torah with the Talmud, or rabbinic things with the Torah itself, and that is considered a grave sin within Judaism, right? So it is considered a biblical sin, for example, for an Orthodox Jew to say that it is against the Bible, that it is a biblical prohibition to eat chicken with milk. It is a biblical prohibition to say that it is a biblical prohibition to eat chicken with milk. Eating beef with milk is a biblical prohibition. Eating chicken with milk is a rabbinic prohibition. and it is a biblical prohibition to say that eating beef with milk is a rabbinic prohibition, or to say that eating chicken with milk is a biblical prohibition. This is a classic example that Maimonides gives in his restatement of the law. Actual propositions matter. So whether or not you know that the gun is loaded or not matters, even if you are acting as if it is loaded, because you are creating a sort of boundary around the situation. The
Right.
actual facts of the question, whether or not it is the gun is loaded, matters. Now, when we get to the Bible, right, we have the psychologicalization through Jordan Peterson, for example, where he gives you all of these great lessons that you can learn from all of the stories in the Bible, which make them valuable beyond any historical, scientific, factual content that the Bible has. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't matter if those stories are true.
Okay, I'm going to speak really, Pauline, right? So first of all, like the problem with Eve, right, is that she had the word of man instead of the word of God, right? And the word of man translates the word of God, right? And so second-hand knowledge is of no use except through the acceptance of the authority of the speaker, right? So the relationship that you're having to it is not a knowing of it, but the relationship that you're having to it is an adherence.
Okay, so let's go back to to Adam saying you shouldn't even touch the fruit. If he had made clear that it was his understanding that because you shouldn't eat the fruit, you shouldn't even touch it, then there wouldn't have been a problem. Because Eve would have understood that even though she's acting as if the gun is loaded, when the gun's not loaded, if you pull the trigger, you're not going to die. But if the gun is loaded, you pull the trigger, you are going to die. And so the reality of the situation.
Yeah, but hold on. No, I'm going to disagree with you because that requires a certain understanding. And I think there's forbidden knowledge, right? So the mediation is actually a necessary component until people are ready to relate to the fact that guns can shoot bullets. And as long as you don't get to the level that guns can shoot bullets, right, you can profess the factual truth to them, but they don't have the capacity to relate to the implications, and therefore actually knowing the factual truth is detrimental to them.
Knowing the actual truth is detrimental to them?
Yeah, because they don't have a framework that can support it.
It is possible for people to, at times, be,
Well, that's the trans issue, right? Like the trans issue is, well, there's an expression that you have freedom in whatever, right? But if you get that idea into them without them having gone through puberty and actually having proper understanding what gender even is, right? And you give them the freedom of choice, right, for something that they shouldn't have freedom about, or at least not at that stage, then they're going to end up with making wrong implications about how to use that freedom.
Right.
Like-
Okay. So now we're getting into the issue of forbidden knowledge and secrets and levels of understanding. Okay.
Right, but that's
So-
what the tree was, right? Like, it was forbidden knowledge.
Okay. So one of the things that I tell people all the time is the actual text of the Bible is like arithmetic. Talmud is like algebra, and Kabbalah is like calculus. Okay? In order to understand algebra, you have to understand arithmetic. In order to understand calculus, you have to understand algebra. And for someone who doesn't understand their algebra, sometimes it appears like calculus is contradicting arithmetic. But ultimately, for example, right, dividing by zero, right? Anybody who knows arithmetic should know you can't divide by zero. But calculus is about taking the limit of x over y as y approaches zero. Right?
Yeah.
But somebody who actually understands calculus understands that it doesn't contradict algebra and it doesn't contradict arithmetic. Now, the same is true of truths, eternal truths, like the Torah, the Talmud, and the Kabbalah. Someone who tells you that there's this secret knowledge which contradicts the simple understanding and this is going into what Rabbi Mullet is talking about. The Talmud is very clear. Ein hapasuk yotze midei pshuto. It is a verse of the Bible cannot be understood in a way that contradicts its plain understanding. The question becomes, what is plain understanding? And generally, plain understanding is just plain understanding, right? And that's where we have to start. And that's where we have to actually be involved in.
Yeah, but okay, but yeah, I'm objecting to plain understanding, like, because when I give someone a sentence, right, or for example, like earlier in the conversation, I said something, right, and then what I said was described completely different than what actually happened, right? So there's a way in which that interpretation, right, and this filtering of what is presented to us is always happening, right? Like we're gonna seek for things in the world because they're in our minds, and we're gonna project them into the text. And in order to have a plain understanding, you have to have a clear mind. Yeah.
In order to have a plain understanding, you have to have a clear mind. Is it possible to have a clear mind?
Well, there's degrees. Like when your mind is full of whatever, right? Then that's less a clear mind than when you have no noise going on in your mind. That doesn't mean that when you have no noise going on that you're immune to biases or something, right? But there's different levels of interference, and there's ways that you can counteract your interference by knowing your weakness. So, like,
Sorry, there are things I have to. Okay, you know what? I need a 5-minute break. You guys have fun.
Okay.
He needs to clear his mind.
Like I can tell you when you eat chocolate, you don't have a clear mind. Especially white chocolate. Jacob loves white chocolate.
Who doesn't?
Let's see if I can engage with some of these comments.
Someone said Jacob passed calculus.
Everything can open doors to dark places if you don't have the right relationship to it. Yeah, well, no, there is a decontextualized way, right? Like there is just a way in which people with common sense can agree upon what is written. Like it just is there, right? Now, is it accessible? Well, it is with some effort. I need a definition of meta words. Are you talking about words that don't have a material reference?
I think maybe it's words talking about other words, perhaps.
Well, okay, I can pick this up a little bit, right? So when we're talking about forbidden knowledge, right? It's like let's talk about this idea of death or something, right? Like you're 5 years old, right? And you're like, someone told you you're gonna die, right? And it's like you end up staying awake for like, I don't know, like 2 weeks, right? Until you kind of forget it because you can't resolve it, right? And then like
Yeah.
a month or 2 months later, it pops up again. Like you spend 2 nights awake again. And it's like, you shouldn't have been told that you die. Like that's not valid information for a 5-year-old. Like, even if it's true, like they shouldn't have to deal with it because it's not relevant to them, right? And they can't do anything with it. Now, does that mean that we should never tell a 5-year-old or whatever? Like, no, like sometimes grandma dies and like we need to have a conversation about that because the realization dawns in themselves. But it's like, just because it's true doesn't mean it's good. Like
discussing the idea of sex with a child when it's not relevant.
And like when we're going through the world, right? And someone tells us something, right? It's like, if I tell you how to combine anthrax with Ebola, like is that good? Like, do you need to have that knowledge, or like do you actually absolutely not need to have that knowledge in any way, because like that's not going to lead anywhere good? Or do you need to be aware that like America has a bunch of atom bombs and Russia has them and China has them, and that's actually a threat? Like do you really need to be aware of it? Like you can't affect it. Like, it can only be a detriment to your life. So all of these things, they're just things that are true, and they're important, right? Like it's actually important that there's someone that can push a button and like blow up a city. But do you need to know? And it's like,
Well,
no,
I
like
think
that.
it may lead to change in discernment. If someone is aware that the world is a more dangerous place than they thought, they may become more of a safety-oriented person.
Right. Okay. Well, yes. Like that discernment can happen, but I would argue that there's 15,000 other ways to get to that place, right? So like
Yeah.
you don't need that path. And secondly, right, like is that good? Right? Like is that the appropriate response? Like is the fact that you spent energy figuring out the appropriate response good? Well, yeah, you can learn things of it, but like you can also learn things by listening to spiritual authorities that actually have a sense of what is good for you. And so like this, yeah, this and it's also like the president of America needs to know about the atom bombs because he got responsibility. And he better damn well should know properly, because if he doesn't know correctly, then he's gonna abuse it.
Yeah.
Right? So but that's him in that position in this specific time, right? Like and
The
there's a
context
purpose
is
behind
important.
it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like when we go through the world and say like, oh, we need more information, we need to have all information available to everybody, it's like why? Like what good is that going to do to you? And it's even with the COVID stuff, it's like, okay, right? Like there's another report that there like things went wrong. It's like, yes, it went wrong, but like what can you do about it? Like you can be upset about it, you can ruin your evening, but like are you actually going to do something that affects the outcome?
Well, and it will all turn to hindsight bias in the end. Like, say with COVID, it's like these are all the ways in which we went wrong, and it's like, well, you can't go back and change the implementations and the response to it. I mean, the only thing that could maybe be learned is if there is like another COVID, a different like SARS virus, mutated pathogen that comes out, like the swine flu, then there's avian flu, and so on. If that somehow mutates into something else in the future, we get another outbreak, then using the COVID response, we could learn from that. But I think also a lot of people don't learn from their mistakes, especially governments. They're saying it's history repeats itself.
Yeah, well, yeah, governments are intricate networks, right? And like it's more difficult to learn when there's people with different ideologies frustrating each other, right?
They may just do lockdown 2.0 and lock us down even harder. Like, not only do you have to wear a mask, but you have to wear like goggles on your eyes. You have to wear gloves on your hands. Just go and take things to the extreme.
But yeah, I think when we're talking about knowledge, right? When you think knowledge is important, you get into the Gnostic trap. It's like, oh, like I am oppressed because I don't have sufficient knowledge, and I just have to find the next piece and the next piece and the next piece of knowledge, and it will set me free. And it's like what is this knowledge going to provide you? Like what is this liberation that you're going to have? You might have the sense of liberation. It's like, ooh, now I really know this thing, and now these people can't fool me anymore or whatever. It's like, if you know what you want and you know what's important, people aren't going to fool you anyway. And like putting your trust in more data or more information or more knowledge is actually going to prevent you from living fully. Like it's going to turn your eyes away from God. It's going to turn your eyes towards something that's dead, and it's going to kill your soul while you infuse yourself with it. And you can spend, like, everybody has to realize that they can spend the time that they're spending on one thing on something else, and that something else could be good. And
Yeah,
that's always going to be my argument. It's like, you could do something better.
yeah. Like rather than trying to adhere to your points and understand you, I could search for that knowledge of thinking, oh, what's that plant behind Manuel? I've got to use Google and get up a botany list and find out what plant that is, because then I'll be able to understand him better. Like, no, it's a futile search, because that's not towards the good. It could even turn towards the bad, in which I find the plant you have is a plant I don't like, and I go, oh, you're a terrible person for having this wrong strain of plant.
Well, and
It's
it's
like
even worse. Like, what does it make you think that you can understand me better by knowing that plant?
Exactly, it's a pointless pursuit, but it's the search of that unending knowledge.
So, Jacob, did you
What?
did you have more chocolate?
Oh no, but the weird thing about real life is there's actually real life things to do,
No.
and yeah, they sometimes interrupt with
See, this is why I can't agree with
sitting
you.
around and talking about like the Trinity and the sin of Adam and Eve. Yeah, that actually this is one of the things I got into kind of a. So if you weren't here, I was going to talk about this. Ooh, Sam just put up a personal story and channel update. Where was that thing? There. Okay. So.
Why does it say you've been live for 3 hours and 26 minutes on Streamlabs, but or StreamYard, but on the YouTube channel, so it was 86 minutes ago?
Because Gavin was streaming for 2 hours onto Randos United, and then I joined and I started on my channel as well.
So like it split the feeds or something.
Yeah, I mean, I can stop feeds, I can add more feeds. Yeah, so yeah, as opposed to starting a new stream, I just decided to commandeer Gavin's and make it. Okay, this is too small. You guys can't read this. So this is Paul's Sam Harris, Jordan Peterson, Politics, Religion as Participatory Theatrical Wrestling. And I wrote, your theological nihilism is showing. Yes, there are team sports, but there are real world ramifications to these games. And he said, there are, but as Chesterton said, once abolish the God and the government becomes the God. When the people who believe in God act like government is the God, they are salt that has lost its flavor. And said, Paul, I don't criticize Harris because of his Trump derangement syndrome. I criticize Harris because his theology is the cause of his Trump derangement syndrome. That is where this theological game becomes a contact sport for me. Believe in your silly Trinity. If that doesn't mean that I walk my dog past homeless encampments of suffering people every morning, which I do, and which is caused by the Trinity. It is the suffering of the homeless man sleeping on my sidewalk that makes me criticize new atheism. Sam Harris's luxury beliefs may only be a game to Sam Harris, but is not a game to the homeless who have to live in a society ruled by the likes of Sam Harris. And this is one of the big fights I have with the theological nihilism that Paul Vanderklay subscribes to, which is, oh, religion is more important than politics, therefore it shouldn't impact politics. And it's like, have you lost your mind? Like, yes, religion is more important than politics. Therefore, politics is downstream from religion. Therefore, your daily life is downstream from politics, because your life, me walking down the street is impacted by politics, is impacted by religion. And all of that needs to be in alignment, and none of that can be in alignment. If you believe in a Trinity, you're going to end up with the bad politics that we have, which is going to end you up with homeless people in the streets.
Wait. That's too far. What in the Trinity? Like I agree with no, but I agree that Vanderklay is not drawing these lines thick enough, right? Like the emanation is real, and
Yes.
we should serve it, right?
The chain of causation is all the way down.
Right, and we should take care of it, right? Like we should nurture that. So, and I think he's severely lacking in that aspect. But I don't know how that relates to theological nihilism and or Trinity, like that.
Okay, because I was making a deliberate jump there, but because I do have it all the way through. So theological nihilism is what I refer to as Calvinism, which is this idea of the sovereignty
Fatalism,
of God.
you mean? Fatalism.
Calvinism, fatalism, theological nihilism, they're all the same.
No,
thing.
but I think fatalism is nihilism, right? Because you remove the agency within you, right? Which makes it meaningless what you do, right? Because it's in the fate, like it's decided by fate.
Right, and Jacob would say Trinity means implied lack of integrity. Not bad. So the problem I have with Paul's theology is, you can call it fatalism, he calls it Calvinism, I call it theological nihilism. It's this idea that because God is sovereign in the world, what we do doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
That we have zero agency in the world because God has agency in the world, which is just plain bad and wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
And the reason I threw the Trinity in there is because ultimately I think everything goes down to first principles. And when you start with 1 = 3, you're going to end up with 2 + 2 = 5. That's why we have homeless people. That's why we have the craziness of the postmodernists.
But that's just one interpretation. But okay, like I can see how you can have a flawed interpretation.
We live in a society where people talk about trinities and square circles and things that are obviously false, and everyone who this.
Yeah, but that's just because they're 2-year-olds.
At best, a Trinitarian is making an appeal to mystery and our incapacity to understand things. At best.
Maybe, but what you're arguing with is a 3-year-old understanding. And I'm like, fair, but also why waste your time? Like you just say you're 3-year-old.
It's not a 3-year-old. Your understanding of the Trinity is really, I mean, come on, Manuel, that's where we started. And honestly, like, the stuff you were saying is in no way compatible with how Christianity has been trying to explain the Trinity for 2,000 years.
I don't believe that.
I know you don't believe that, but that's because you don't spend much time discussing the doctrine of the Trinity.
I've been talking to Christians about this a lot, and like I
Have you been talking to Sam about this a lot?
No, but like Sam is not a Trinitarian, so like why would I talk to him?
Exactly.
Yeah, why would I talk to him? Because like
Yeah, why would I talk to somebody who knows my doctrine better than I do and can show me all the flaws?
Well, first of all, I'm not following doctrine. I'm following the revelation because I don't have a doctrine on it. Secondly,
Okay.
why do you think I should talk to a person who's not seeing what I'm seeing? Because that's obviously the case.
I have no idea who's here making a delivery, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, I think this is correct. Probably, yeah.
Well, that was the point of the assay thing I was asking, because the fact is, I think Sam understands the Trinity much better than any other Trinitarian, and it's just.
I agree that he probably understands it better than most.
Okay. So, what about Sam's authority about how the Trinity is wrong?
Well, yeah. Well, I am convinced that he's stuck in a theological battle that I'm not stuck in, right?
I am convinced that he is stuck in the same theological battle that you're stuck in. You just refuse
I'm not in a battle.
to engage. Yeah, you refuse to engage in the battle.
Well,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, you can pretend that this isn't the most important single doctrine, and the fact that somebody like Sam knows Christianity and knows that doctrine and is a better authority than you are.
Okay, can you give me one direct implication that I should care about
of the Trinity?
Mm-hmm.
When you see God in three different aspects as opposed to one God, that creates.
No, you can't see three different aspects of one God. Like that's what the Trinity is. Just like I can look at this glass from three different perspectives. Like
okay, but you're saying that there are three canonical perspectives on there that you can see God from two perspectives, from three perspectives, from four perspectives, from five perspectives.
No, three fundamental perspectives.
Okay? Right. So you're saying that number three is itself fundamental.
Yeah, I agree. That's
and it's not. That's false.
Okay, if you say so.
That's
not my experience. So
right, because you have framed the world into these canonical threes, which is what Trinitarian Christianity teaches, and it's a problem.
So what maybe it is a problem. Like, what is this doing to me that makes me evil?
I didn't say you're evil. You're ignorant.
Okay, who gives a shit? Like,
no, being ignorant matters.
I'm ignorant about many things. Like,
yes, look, I'm not saying that this is the most important thing in the world. Like, I wasn't.
But okay.
Yeah.
But does it
if I thought this was the most important thing,
does it make me wrong about things that I care about? I need.
It does affect. Yes, I do believe that it does affect things you care about because your world is.
It affects things, but like, is it a bad?
It affects which church you go to. Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Well, you're not going to church?
It was not part of my evaluation of where to go.
It was. Okay. Was it part of their evaluation of whether you can go?
No.
Nope. That is rather unique in Christianity. Most places end up kicking people like Sam out because they don't believe in a Trinity. So
No, they kick him out for other reasons, but whatever. Like,
see, that's the thing. I don't know your church. I'm not there
no,
with
like he's being kicked out because he's professing things that are in conflict with what they're teaching, and I'm not professing anything at church.
Right, and that was part of my whole thing when
Because I am
first started.
submitted to the authority of my pastor, right? And I'm not
Okay,
gonna
and
do
your pastor
anything in
is a
conflict with him.
Trinitarian.
Maybe,
pastor
but he's not
is a
expressing it in
Trinitarian.
any meaningful
No,
way
see,
apart from the fact that he references
I would
what's
love
written in the Bible.
I would love for your to actually have your pastor come and speak about this, because I am sure your pastor would say that Trinitarianism is at the very foundation of everything in his faith and a very important aspect of his theology.
Well, you still have to say why that matters, okay? But you can.
No. See, this is the thing. Okay, so you're asking me to explain to you why it matters. At the same time, when if you're going to a church which says it doesn't matter, I am very happy about that. I would be.
No, my church doesn't say
ecstatic.
it. They're not acting in any way where it's relevant. Okay.
Well, first of all, they completely disagree with you.
Maybe. Okay.
But you said you're submitting to the authority of your pastor. And
Yeah.
your pastor, I am pretty sure, disagrees with you about the importance of the Trinity.
Okay. So.
Okay. So like
I'm still
maybe,
submitted. Like.
Okay. So maybe I should be having this discussion with him. But I am hypothesizing Manuel's pastor, who I've never met. But if he's like 99.9% of other Christian pastors, he says that the Trinity is incredibly important. It is the most important thing. There you go. We have two Manuels now.
We have two, for whatever reason. Anyway, okay. I think there. Well, do you disagree with the idea of a Holy Ghost and that there's a divine aspect of God that is within man?
No, not at all.
Okay, so there is 3 ways to understand God.
There's also 4 ways to understand.
Okay, I'm not saying that there's not a fourth way, but and those 3 ways are fundamentally different.
Okay, so my understanding is that our perception of God can be divided into 2 ways, 3 ways, 4 ways, 5 ways, 6 ways.
Yeah, you can
7
do them,
ways,
but
8
they're not
ways.
co-equal. Okay, like
all of these ways of seeing hypostases of God, right? None of the hypostases are equivalent to God, who is one.
no, they're not. Like I agree.
Okay.
Like I'm not making an equivalency argument. Like that.
Okay.
That is silly.
Okay, Manuel, I have to say, you do not have a well-formulated doctrine of the Trinity. Like, that's been obvious during this entire,
but I have a clear conception of it.
I don't think you do at all.
Well, that's your opinion, but like my experience.
Okay, so like, again, we're kind of going back to the question of authority, right? do I understand the Trinity and your understanding of the Trinity better than you do? And like, I'm not.
Like, do you understand my understanding of the Trinity at all? Because I don't think you can by the things that I told you. So,
well, that's the thing. So when I asked you questions about the Trinity, right, you were answering in ways that did not show proficiency in Trinitarian doctrine.
no, that just shows that I'm engaging in a different way. But okay. Like,
Okay. Manuel, have you actually read a significant amount of
not a significant
discussion?
amount.
Have you read a single book about the Trinity?
No, not a whole book, no.
Okay, and that shows. Like, if we're talking about myophyses or diophyses, or we're talking about hypostases, we're talking about Arianism versus that. These discussions of the Trinity are very well developed, and frankly, I prefer that Christians don't spend all their time in them, because I think ultimately it is a house of cards that falls apart. But
yeah, I agree.
You're not
that you shouldn't spend too much time there.
with it. Yeah, well, yeah, you're not engaged.
Yes,
don't,
and I resolved the issue.
Well, you okay. Look, if you resolve the issue in saying it's not that important, then I'm happy. But I'll tell you, I would challenge you to ask your pastor if he thinks it's not that important. The person you submit to in these matters, I would ask you to ask him if the Trinity is the most important thing or not. And my guess is, if he's like 99% of Christian pastors, and you put that question
Yeah, he
to him,
isn't.
is the Trinity the most the most important thing, the most important belief we can have? The vast majority of pastors would say yes. Manuel is playing his hand tight to his chest. Yeah, and I completely understand that, because frankly, like, this is not a type of theological battle you want to get involved with. And if you don't want to get involved with it, I'm fine with not getting involved with it, because frankly,
No, like I only fight about things I care about.
And you don't care about the Trinity?
I have not seen an argument that I should care about yet in what people have been arguing about in the Trinity. So
I am the last person to argue that you should care about the Trinity. In fact, I am the first person to argue that you shouldn't care about the Trinity. Andre,
but I'm just gonna tell you,
the
way that I came upon the Trinity and my understanding of the Trinity is because I had different understandings about reality and the functioning of reality that completely mapped upon the Trinity. And everything what I've read since then is conforming to that understanding. So
right, because it is a frame by which Christians see the world. And it's an important frame for them to see the world, which is what makes it so fundamental and actually important. But as long as Christians aren't placing a great emphasis on it, I have other things, like, that's not where I'm going to go, because frankly, that's not where I am interested in going.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, when a Christian says, "Oh, the Trinity is the most important thing," then we got stuff to talk about.
So yeah, right. So how is it ordered, right?
How is what ordered?
Well, the Trinity. I think it's referencing the Trinity, but the problem with that is, right, like, the way things express themselves to you, or the way that you relate to them, and therefore the way that they're ordered, is going to change. Like it's not a constant. It depends on the way that you're participating with them. And so when we start making universal claims about the nature of the things that we cannot grasp, right? It's like, it depends on how we relate to it. And if we start pretending that, like, this is my objection to objective material reality, right? If we start pretending that there is a thing somewhere that we can have an understanding of, independent from ourselves as participants in it, observers, whatever relationship you have to it, then I'm just going to disagree with you. Like you can't get to the thing without you. Like, sorry.
Yeah, your understanding is dependent upon your understanding. That's a syllogism.
Well, yeah, but a lot of people argue about things as if they're things in and of themselves, independent from them. And
oh, hold on. Okay, now my understanding of anything is going to be incomplete because I have a limited capacity to understand. That doesn't mean that the reality of what I am trying to understand is not independent of my capacity to understand it.
yeah,
There is such a thing as reality.
Yeah, but the way, but reality gets co-manifested by your participation in it, right?
Correct.
So it's, in that sense, already nonsensical to separate it from you.
No, it's not nonsensical, because in order for me to relate to something, it has to be other than me.
No, it has to be in relationship to you, right? Which means that
in order for me to have a relationship with something else, it has to be else.
Yeah, but you're also communing with it.
Yes.
Right? So it's also us.
In relationship with me, but it's not me.
Right. Well, but I would argue that everything that you're in relationship is co-identifying you, and therefore it just informs you, and therefore it's part of you.
How aware are you of the problem of the one and the many?
I am aware of the problem. I find the way that people talk about it silly, but that.
Explain.
Well, I think it the perspective that you take informs what is revealed within the perspective, right? And so if I say two things are the same, right, that's because I decided to relate to the sameness, right? If I say two things are other, right, then that means that I decided to relate to the other. And Vervaeke says, right, two things are infinitely same and infinitely other, right? So and then you can also look at it within the perspective of well, so I'm looking at fractal natures, right? So you can look up and horizontal. Anyway, yeah, that's the way that I look at it.
Okay, so just to explain the one and the many. So a cloud in the sky is made up of water molecules. And there's a place that is clearly cloud, and there's a place that's clearly outside the cloud. Yet,
maybe.
What do you mean maybe? All clouds are infinite?
I would already object to that framing, but keep going.
Why?
What's your objection to the framing that there's
because
a place
when I
that's
look at
within
a
the cloud,
I'm not looking at water molecules.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at my interpretation of a reflection of light.
Okay. Does that mean there's no actual cloud there?
Well, that means that whatever I see of what is supposed to be there is
Right.
already filtered through a bunch of layers of interpretation.
Right. But it's an interpretation of something that is actually real.
Yeah.
Yes.
There is a reality which you are perceiving.
Well, I would, I would use maybe the word actuality, but okay.
Okay, let's call it actuality. So there's an actual cloud there, and there's your perception of the cloud, and there's a place that is outside the actual cloud, and there's a place that is inside the actual cloud.
Okay, I have a lot of objections, but I'll grant you.
What are your objections? Object.
Well, because there's no such thing as cloudness apart from you observing it.
There's no such thing, so you are a nominalist.
No.
When I say cloud, that's just something I'm coming up with. There's no actual cloud.
No, but the definition of the cloud only makes sense in relation to your embodiment of your experience of it.
So if we were standing next to each other and I say, Manuel, look at that cloud,
Mm-hmm.
and you perceive that cloud, is it my perception which is creating that perception within you?
I perceive something else than you do, and I can understand it in similar ways as you.
Why?
Because my eyes are different, my interpreted framework.
No. Why are they similar? Yeah, I know all the ways that are
there
they're
is-
different. What
there
is the
is-
similarity?
The similarity is that there is a level of analysis in which we recognize a shared pattern, right? That we can
Right.
communicate.
Okay, so what creates that shared pattern, that capacity for us to see the same thing?
Our experience.
Our experience is what creates our capacity to share an experience?
No, like that creates the impression.
Yeah, the cloud is there whether you interpret it or not. The cloud is actually there. There is a cloud there.
Yeah, there is something there. There's something there.
Yes.
The cloudness is what we apply to what's out there.
The cloudness is how we perceive what is out there.
Yes. Okay.
So
Then we're in
there
agreement.
is something there.
There's something there, but the cloudness is in us.
No. The cloud, see, this is nominal though.
No, it's
The-
not.
We are perceiving something that is real.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But
it's
we
not
can perceive
what we are
many things
perceiving
when
is
looking
not
at the
within
same-
us. It is external to us.
No, the source of what we're perceiving is there. What we're perceiving is in us.
The source?
Yeah, there is something that is generating.
Yes.
That
So I'm
we're
talking about the
participating in.
source. I'm not talking
Right.
about
Okay.
your conception
But-
of it.
but-
I'm
but we
talking
don't
about
have-
the source.
But we don't have access to the source.
You have no access to the source, then how is it generating any perception?
That is the way that it emanates upon us. Like,
Right. So we have access to something about it.
yes. We
Okay.
have
so
a
we have
relationship.
access to it. Yes.
We
so
have a
we have
relationship.
access to it.
We have a relationship, yes.
We have access to it.
We have potential access.
Okay. But it's there and it's something other than us.
Right? Well, yes, but
Okay.
no, but this
But
is
what?
important, right? Like when we observe, like we create something, we manifest reality as a consequence of the fact that we have an interaction.
correct. I didn't say there.
Okay, but
I did not say we didn't. What I
Okay.
was saying is that there is a reality outside of us which generates any perception that we have.
No, because the perception is an interpretation. It generates the signal. It informs us that, like, there's an information that is happening from reality towards us, right? Now, that is what that means is up to us, right? Like we can have any relationship to information that we choose to have. So
I got
that's
a text. I have to answer it. Okay.
You got a text from the cloud.
and it's important because then we can have relationships that are true and that are false.
Mm.
And then we can have relationships that are towards the good, right? Or generating the good, or that are not, right?
Okay.
And
but there is an actuality there, and the cloud actually exists, and there's also sky that is not part of the cloud, correct?
you can frame it that way.
Okay, I am framing it that way. There's an actual cloud and there's outside of the cloud. Now, how do you draw that boundary between cloud and not cloud? Why is it that both of us when we're looking at the sky, why is it that the both of us, when I say cloud, you see the same shape of a cloud as I do?
Well, first of all, like, why do I have to create the boundary?
Okay, let me actually pull up a picture of a cloud.
No,
Okay.
I'm asking you, right? Like, because you're making a presupposition that is a thing that we should do, right? And if you point at the cloud, right? The fact that you point at the cloud makes me make that boundary because I want to have a participation or a communion with you in what you're seeing, right? So that makes me see that cloud.
You see a cloud?
I can see other things.
Okay, but you do see a cloud.
If I choose to, yes.
So you could choose not to see a cloud?
Yes.
What do you mean?
I
Yeah.
cannot focus on the cloud and then I don't see the cloud. Like, it's just that simple.
The cloud doesn't disappear if you choose not to
No.
look at it.
Yeah.
No, it actually does from my experience. Like,
No, it doesn't.
No.
No, you're just plain wrong. Things
Okay,
don't
but-
disappear because you choose not to pay attention to them.
I
No,
said
but
it
when the sun
experience.
comes up and the moon when the moon goes away and the sun comes up, the moon doesn't disappear.
It disappears from my experience.
Hold on. Your perception does not define reality. If you're not paying attention and a car hits you, you will feel the result despite the fact that you didn't perceive it.
Yeah, but I can't relate to it unless I perceive it.
Okay, let's put it this way. You choose to close your eyes and I punch you in the face.
Mhm.
Was there a punch?
Only if I look at it that way.
This is okay. So this is you deciding that you have control over things you simply do not.
No, I don't say I have control. I'm saying that that is the way that it appears to me.
Wow, this is like when my dog sees something scary and looks away so she can pretend it's not there.
But this is literally the same as the porcupine, treating the porcupine as if it can shoot its quill.
No,
Like-
you have been possessed by a spirit of postmodernism, which tells
No,
you
it's not. It's not a postmodern spirit. Like
It is.
I'm saying.
You're telling me that if I choose not to perceive something, then it doesn't have a reality in the world in relation to me. And things have a relationship
okay, but
to
then-
you which are independent of your decisions and your will and even your perception.
I agree that things have a relation to me, right? So there's constraints upon me, right, that are independent of my choice to participate with them.
Okay.
I agree, right?
Okay.
But I don't believe that meaning is there, right? So
You mean
when
that
you say
meaning is there?
well, when you say cloud, right?
Yes.
That is me participating in a certain framing, right? So I have to adopt that framing, right? And I have to give meaning to the framing.
Okay, if you're flying through that cloud, right? If we're in an airplane and we're flying through the cloud, it has an impact on how we move through that cloud, correct?
Yes, but I would also frame it differently because the thing that is having an impact is a subset of the cloud, not the complete cloud, right?
Not the complete cloud, but there is such a thing as a cloud. This is where nominalism just fails.
But hold on. I agree that there's something there, right? But
You're the most postmodern nominalist I've
no,
ever heard.
it's no, I'm no. No, what is there? Like I'm not in the frame of reality because what makes it there is my interaction with it, right? So if I fly through it, I have an interaction with it. If I look at it, I have an interaction with it, right?
Right.
I can choose to go away and not have that interaction, right? It can pursue me maybe, right, and force me to have the interaction, but
Right.
Well,
It's-
wouldn't
it's-
that interaction be that when you're away from it, it causes weather, which is around you, and you're still forced to react with it?
no,
Well,
What?
I mean, there's the gravitational pull of the fact that it's denser. I mean, if we're talking about like if it has any relationship to you, right? Well, everything that has density has some gravitational pull upon you. Like that in some sense, and this is how we got into the question of the one and the many, right?
Mhm.
There are relationships which are irrelevant, and there are relationships which are relevant. There is salience, and that salience is independent of your choices and decisions.
No, that's what I meant with the way that I'm looking at the cloud makes it be a cloud or not be a cloud. Like I can look
Yeah,
at it
and you're
and I can see a
wrong.
rabbit. I can look at it and I can see.
And
the
you would
sky.
be wrong. That's not a rabbit.
No, it
Yeah,
is
it's
because
a
that's the
cloud that
pattern of a rabbit.
you could. Yeah, but the pattern of a rabbit doesn't mean it's a rabbit. You could have a drawing of a rabbit, and that doesn't make it a rabbit. It's a drawing of a rabbit.
Well, but the fact that I see a cloud doesn't make it a cloud. It could be an illusion. Like
It could be, but that would mean that you are wrong.
right.
If
Okay,
there
I
is
agree.
no cloud there, then you are wrong.
But is it wrong for me to see a rabbit in the cloud?
If there's no rabbit in the cloud? Yes, it is.
But the cloud has the shape of the rabbit. Like,
Well, okay,
But-
so
but it's a
let's
cloud.
assume this actually was more shaped like a rabbit than it is.
yeah, that was my bad.
Yeah. Let's assume that this cloud was in the shape of a rabbit. And you decided to call it rabbit as opposed to cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're referring to the shape of it, where I was referring to the water molecules.
Mm-hmm.
Our framing doesn't change the reality of the situation.
Right, but the reality is ineffable, right? It's out of
No,
our
it's not
grasp.
ineffable. No, it is not ineffable. You are in a relationship with it. That which is ineffable, you are incapable of having a relationship with.
No,
Yes, you cannot have a relation. That's what ineffable means.
no, but that's what Vervaeke is talking about. There's an infinite moreness in the cloudness.
Okay, so the ineffability, right? So we have a relationship with the ineffable, right? Which is the whole problem, right? The whole problem is we have a relationship with the ineffable, and that is itself a contradiction.
Why is that a problem?
Because ineffable literally means that which you cannot have a relationship with.
Yet.
There.
Okay.
What do you mean yet?
Well, you could develop a relationship, right? And then
With the ineffable? No, then it would
With-
cease to be ineffable.
yes,
Yeah.
right? But that's why it's like it's never ending. Like there's an infinite quality to what is ineffable to you, right? And some of what is ineffable can be revealed to you by participating with it. But
Correct.
there's always infinitely more, right?
Correct.
And there's also infinitely more participations with what is already revealed, right? So like there's all these infinities.
Mhm.
And so when you're talking about the cloud, right? Like the way that I deal with that problem is, like I said, right? Like when you point me at the cloud, it's important for me to see the cloud because that's part of our relationship, right? Our communion. And therefore I will try to perceive the cloud, and hopefully I'm not delusional enough not to be successful in that, right?
Okay, but there is something there which causes our capacity to have a shared understanding of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the question becomes, how is that boundary which creates? So if I were to point to just the sky and there was no cloud there, and I said, hey, Manuel, see that cloud? You would say no,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so there is a place that there is a cloud, and there's a place where there isn't a cloud. And that's real and independent of my personal desires. When I say, Manuel,
Yeah, but
look
if
there, cloud.
no, but if I have different eyesight than you, right? Like I look
Okay.
at a different part of the visual spectrum or the non-visual spectrum, even, right? The size of the cloud would be different,
Okay.
right? Because my participation with it is different. Like
right,
when
because we would not have a common
right,
capacity to perceive things.
right, and that's my argument, right? My argument is that what you're perceiving or where you put the boundaries is a consequence of your relationship with it.
It's a consequence of your relationship with it, but whether or not you have the capacity to see that which is actually there, right, is an objective question. If you're blind, you're blind. That's your problem, not the problem of me pointing out the cloud. The cloud is there.
Well,
If you're blind and I point out the cloud and you can't see it, that's a problem solely for you.
Well, if you're an asshole, maybe, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, if I care about you, I would like for you to see the cloud, even if you're blind as Sam
why is
Harris.
it? But okay. But here's my objection, right? Like, why is it a problem?
Well, because reality asserts itself.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I have to see the cloud. And on the other side, right? Like you said,
Well,
reality.
that's a question of relevance. If
Right.
I say,
right. But
if-
hold on.
yeah.
But like you said, right? Reality reveals
asserts
itself.
Yeah.
Or asserts itself, and in its
Asserts.
assertion, it reveals itself.
Correct.
Right? And so that's also where at least part of the relevance is coming from, right? Is
Yeah.
the fact that it gets asserted to you, right? And
Mhm.
whether you're the vehicle of assertion or like your fist hitting my face, the vehicle
Right.
of assertion,
Yes.
that means that I now add meaning to it, right? And importance. And now I'm trying to get an understanding of what it means to me, right? Because like
But the salience is outside of you.
okay, so I don't know what you mean by salience, but I see salience as the signal, right, after it's been received, right, how it is presented to you. Well, I'm still trying to figure out why it's important too, because like that's with all this.
We're discussing the Trinity, Bazzani. That's that. And
effectively, yes.
if we are definitely like this is very, very like this is very much connected to the question of the Trinity, and the fact we're having so much trouble, I think, has to do with the fact that the concept of the Trinity is so obscure and problematic.
So okay, let me introduce the word binding, right? So because I have a word for it, right? Like, and there's a cultural significance to it. I bind myself to the idea of clouds, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now I can see clouds. I can communicate with clouds, right? Like I have imbued my relationship to clouds with a certain reality to me, right? And so that's from my perspective, right? And so now whenever I look up at the sky, because I know that clouds are in the sky, I can recognize certain patterns and affirm the cloudness of the patterns that I'm perceiving.
Okay. And to go back to the question of the one and the many, the question becomes where and why is that one cloud as opposed to two clouds?
But that's just a matter of definition. Like you
and that's where you go into nominalism. Yes, that is the nominalist answer to the problem of the one and the many. That is, you are giving the nominalist answer to the
no,
problem
but I'm gonna go one step further then, right? Because I don't want to step there. It's like, okay, like I have a purpose for either assigning oneness or two-ness to the cloud, right?
Okay.
Because it's gonna serve something, right? So I'm the shepherd of the cloud, and so I'm imposing the oneness or two-ness so that it can serve me.
Okay,
right?
And that's when you become a post-modernist.
Yeah.
Maybe, but right. But if
Yeah.
I bind myself, right,
Yeah.
to my relationship to God or something, right, and so instead of having the solipsistic, the cloud is there to serve me, instead
Right.
I'm the vessel of the will of God, then I solve that problem and I'm not a postmodernist.
Then you start approaching Neoplatonism, but that's when the Trinity becomes the problem, because to be completely Neoplatonic, you have to believe in the one.
Yeah, but I don't think that any Christian is gonna deny the oneness of God.
Thank God. I'm glad to hear it. May Christians always accept the oneness of God.
Yeah, like it's one God with three natures, or three persons. Or whatever, right?
I disagree. I don't think that there are three canonical natures.
I agree, but like the oneness is preserved. Like I'm just making a preservation claim here.
Okay, now that we've refuted the Trinity, wow, that took long.
Yeah, I don't think that refuted anything about the Trinity. Like the revelation of the complexity of that only made it more important for the Trinity, because like the way, right, like the way that I understand how to choose one cloud or two clouds, right, is separate from the fact that there's something there that can be one cloud or two clouds, right?
I don't think it's separate. No.
Why not?
Because I think ultimately there is the one, and the one is reflected sometimes in the two, and sometimes in the three, and sometimes in the four, and sometimes in the five. But ultimately, the reason we choose 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 is because we recognize the unity of it all. No,
like that's not the experience of most people. Like if that's your experience,
well, that's then... So ultimately, I mean, frankly, I would highly commend you spend. I think I would recommend you spend more time actually contemplating the Trinity, because I don't think you have a well-formulated conception of the Trinity, which is where this entire discussion
go through it. I was going to go through it, like the what is here and what tells me to how to relate to what is there are two different things in my experience. Like one is something that comes at me, right? And one is something that's in me that gets put out.
It relates to it, right? And
right?
This is,
and then there's
this is
something
why,
that does the dance, right?
And this is why I constantly say that the problem I have with the Trinity is that none of the hypostases of God is God.
No, they're manifestations.
Right. So,
right.
like,
I agree.
That the three, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, those are not God. They're manifestations of God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you just denied the Trinity. Thank you.
Okay. Well, yeah. Like I think that God is outside of.
Yes, God is
reality,
inevitable.
And then gets expressed into three manifestations. Like that's, I think that's what it's trying to convey, the Trinity. But
okay, I am very, very glad this is your conception of the Trinity. I have to tell you that if you went to a Trinitarian church, they might have some questions about your conception of the Trinity. That's modalism, Patrick. Have you seen that video?
No, I haven't.
Oh, where is that video? It's a great video. What's the name of that channel? Lutheran what is it? Where is that video?
Lutheran satire.
Yeah,
Yes.
there it is. St. Patrick's bad analogies.
What the serpent
There we go.
is. How does the serpent talk? What? And not only that, but why is the serpent's punishment?
I hope I don't get a copyright strike for this, but we'll see if we do. This is a great video.
Be like Luther and protest against it if you do.
Okay, Patrick, tell us a bit more about this Trinity thing. Yeah, Patrick, tell us. But remember that we're simple people without your fancy education and books and learning, and we're hearing about all of this for the first time. So try to keep it simple. Okay, Patrick? Yeah, real simple, Patrick.
Sure, there are three persons of the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, yet there is only one God.
Don't get what you're saying here, Patrick. Not picking up what you're laying down here, Patrick. Could you use an analogy, Patrick?
Sure, the Trinity is like water, and how you can find water in three different forms: liquid and ice and vapor.
That's modalism, Patrick.
What?
Modalism, an ancient heresy confessed by teachers such as Noetus and Sibelius, which espouses that God is not three distinct persons, but that he merely reveals himself in three different forms. This heresy was clearly condemned in Canon 1 at the First Council of Constantinople in 381 AD, and those who confess it cannot rightly be considered a part of the Church Catholic. Come on, Patrick. Yeah, get it together, Patrick.
Okay, then the Trinity is like the sun in the sky, where you have the star and the light and the heat.
Oh, Patrick. Come on, Patrick. That's Arianism, Patrick.
Arianism?
Yes, Arianism, Patrick. A theology which states that Christ and the Holy Spirit are creations of the Father and not one in nature with him. Exactly like how heat and light are not the star itself, but are merely creations of the star. That's a bad analogy, Patrick. You're the worst, Patrick.
All right, sorry. The Trinity is like this three-leaf clover here.
I'm going to stop you right there, Patrick. Yeah, hold your horses, Patrick. You're about to confess partialism.
Partialism?
Yes, partialism, a heresy which asserts that the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit are not distinct persons of the Godhead, but are different parts of God, each composing 1/3 of the divine.
And who confesses the heresy of partialism?
The first season of the cartoon program Voltron, where 5 robot iron cars merge together to form one giant robot samurai, obviously.
I've never heard of Voltron.
Of course you haven't. It's not going to exist for another 1,500 years now, Patrick. Yeah, get with the program, Patrick. I mean, really, Patrick. I'm going to stab you in the face, Patrick. Okay, that was probably a bit much.
All right, I'll try again. The Trinity is like how the same man can be a husband and a father and an employer.
Modalism again.
All right, then it's like the 3 layers of an apple.
Partialism revisited.
Fine. The Trinity is a mystery which cannot be comprehended by human reason, but is understood only through faith and is best confessed in the words of the Athanasian Creed, which states that we worship one God in Trinity and Trinity in unity, neither confusing the persons nor dividing the substance, that we are compelled by the Christian truth to confess that each distinct person is God and Lord, and that the deity of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit is one, equal in glory, co-equal in majesty.
Well, why didn't you just say that, Patrick? Yeah, quit beating around the bush, Patrick. Now let's all put on some giant green foam hats, get riotously drunk, and vomit in the Chicago River to celebrate our conversion.
So I just heard the same thing every time. Effectively, like I'm not making those distinctions. That's where
I have to say I kind of agree with them. At the end, Christians should just say it's a mystery. We have zero idea.
No, but like I think the problem is that when, like, I think all of these conceptions, right, are useful ways of understanding, but they're analogies and therefore they're idolatry, right? And so, like, if that's the argument, then I'm on board.
Okay, great. No more Trinity.
No, then I'm on board with the confession.
Jacob, I think you need to ask the question of what is a discrete entity and its relationship with discrete integers and its relationship to the evolution of perception and evolved method of propagation through copies and laws of physics. If you say so, then it's a mystery. But what's different between Christians and Jews? The difference is in Judaism, we very strongly say that if it's a mystery, then it can't be a fundamental of our faith.
If it's a mystery, does that mean it's ineffable?
You could maybe say that, but like whatever is a mystery, whatever is something. So those things which are fundamental to our faith are those things which are, which the Bible teaches repeatedly, simply over and over again, throughout, in a way that can be understood to basically everyone. We do not believe that anything which is like difficult to figure out from the Bible, difficult to like, none of those things can be fundamental to our faith because God revealed in the Torah those things which are most important clearly.
Yeah. So there's no mysteries in Judaism.
There are things which are mysteries, and a person can try to understand those mysteries, but those mysteries cannot conflict with those things which are fundamental, and they cannot be considered fundamental.
Right.
So that's why I keep on making the arithmetic, algebra, calculus analogy. Like, knowing calculus is not necessary to be a good Jew. Knowing algebra even, it would be nice if you knew algebra. You have to know your arithmetic, and the algebra and the calculus do not conflict with the arithmetic. The arithmetic is the arithmetic. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 2 plus 2 does not equal 5. 1 does not equal 3. That arithmetic is arithmetic. Those are the fundamentals of the faith. And a deeper understanding only further expounds upon that which is simply understood.
In that way, would you say that, like, the Tanakh is the arithmetic, and maybe something like the Kabbalah is calculus?
That is exactly what I would say. That is exactly
right. Yeah.
Yes, and the two biggest mistakes that people make is either thinking that Kabbalistic concepts are fundamental, or that they can contradict that which is fundamental.
Yeah, I understand. I heard somewhere that, and I think some rabbi said, you should not undertake on trying to understand the Kabbalah before the age of 40.
There are definitely people who have said that, and honestly, there is no requirement to go beyond that which you yourself, like, God has revealed what he has revealed to all, and that's beautiful and good. And if you have a capacity, and this is the type of stuff that, so the really deep stuff that I talk about on my channel is generally the type of the stuff that Ben and I are talking about on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Pacific, generally, in my lessons in Tanya class. That's discussion. That's
the thing I was thinking about the Tanya. I was going to mention that as like another sort of calculus level book.
Yeah. Well, yeah. To some extent, it's trying to bring concepts that are that level down
Yeah.
to the experience of people. Like, I have to say that the stuff we are discussing in that discussion are at the outer edges of my personal capacity to understand.
Well, because I think I mentioned it to you once when I was interested in the Kabbalah-like stuff, and I said, "Oh, do you know this text? Is it worth looking into?" And you said, "You need to know more before doing it, and the things that you would even learn in it, you wouldn't be able to comprehend because there's no anchoring to like the fundamental knowledge. So it would be even not worth it to try and attempt.
Yeah,
Cause
if you don't
more
know
confusion.
if you don't know your times tables, there's no point in looking in a calculus.
Yeah, I agree.
Robert, if you want to sing, you should probably figure out a place where you can sing, which is not in chat. How can you say 2 + 2 = 4 if there is a boundary conflict between what is one thing and or another thing, or a boundary conflict between what is one thing or two things? Example of the former, the rabbit duck image. Example of the latter, a conjoined twin. Ultimately, there is a reality to whether or not something is one or two. And it's not simply your perception.
But it can change, and miracles happen.
Miracles do happen, and our perceptions can be wrong, erroneous, and time-bound. But
Or improper, like
yeah,
but that's where I'm more concerned. Like I don't think it's the error that's the problem, and I don't think we should solve for the error. I think we should solve for the propriety or the properness.
I'm not sure error can rightly be separated from, well, what you're calling propriety and what I would say salience.
Okay, I get now. I have the way to relate to what we're doing.
Okay.
So you can be a truth first person, right? Which is basically you're trying to be in proper accordance to reality, right? So the framing that you gave me, right? Like there's something out there, and the out there-ness says something to us, is basically saying there's a truth out there, and because there's a truth out there, something else, right? And so the objection that I have is I have goodness first, right? So I say I'm looking for goodness, and as a consequence of my looking for goodness, I might participate with the potential of cloud.
Okay, so I do not think so. Part of the importance of the ineffability of God is I do not think that any one value, whether that be truth, good, beauty, whatever you say, while all of those things are values, none of those things can be a primary value, because the top of the hierarchy always has to be occupied by the ineffable. That's
right,
why when I write God, I don't write G-O-D, I write G-D, because that is a self-referential admission that I cannot capture God in a name.
But I agree that is theologically how you should organize it.
Thank you.
But
yeah,
then we have to translate that to pragmatism.
Okay.
Right? It's like, okay, like okay, there's this crazy schema of God. How do we relate to that, right? And then you still have to prioritize something in your relationship, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, well, that's okay. So I'm talking about on that level because I'm saying that whatever's beyond that level is fundamentally outside of my agency, right?
Mhm.
And so that's why I call it irrelevant.
It's not irrelevant. It's beyond your capacity to completely know, but it's not beyond your capacity to interrelate.
Yeah, but the relationship is within my capacity, so I should focus on the relationship, and then whatever
Correct.
is
I
revealed is
completely agree
revealed.
with
Okay.
Yeah.
But
And whatever
this
is
is the
revealed is
problem.
revealed.
Yeah, but that's the problem, right? So like, why are you trying to presuppose what is going to be revealed or whatever, right? Like just leave the ineffable for later.
You know what? Actually, that is one of the. I mean, that was the whole thing when we started, and I started asking you questions about the Trinity. Like I said, I would rather Christians were like not focused on the Trinity because they are focused on
Yeah, I agree.
trying to understand the nature of God in a way that is outside of that which has been revealed, and that's why they get themselves into the problems that they do.
Well, yes, but
We're in agreement.
That is a problem of revelation, not a problem of the truth of the Trinity. Right? That's just Christians not having the right way of maturity.
Well, so what I would say is, how about, as opposed to coming up with these creeds and these formulations and doctrines, how about we just stick to Scripture?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so since the
That's
word
why
Trinity
that's
doesn't
that's
show
why
up
I'm
anywhere,
hesitant.
yeah,
But
in the
also
Scripture.
I'm saying that I'm recognizing the Trinity in my experience. So that's why I have like and I'm like I said, right, like I am not really interested in the exact nature and the exact organization, although I do have ideas about that, right? Like I actually have seen how that could work. Now that doesn't mean that I have taken a definite position on that, because I don't have sufficient grasp on that to say that. But like I do think that dismissing the Trinity is wrong. I should say it's forbidden knowledge, right? Like, and I guess Christians call forbidden knowledge mystery, but yeah.
I don't understand this. How you're using forbidden knowledge.
Well, so the way that I understand things, right? Like you were talking about your Abrahamic hierarchic system, right? There's affordances that you need to create to sustain higher levels of understanding. And so forbidden knowledge is basically knowledge that you are not supposed to relate to until you have a certain spiritual maturity that can actually house these concepts properly. And if you have not had that maturity, like it's going to be detrimental to you to engage with these things. And I think that's literally what your objection to the Trinity is.
Okay, so the way you're using it, why I don't like the use of the word forbidden there, is because forbidden seems to be saying that it's always forbidden, and what you mean is it's that which requires prior Preparation.
requires initiation.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, but it's forbidden because the authority is what holds the unleashing of the knowledge, right?
Okay, so
or-
I completely agree with you. Christians should stop talking about the Trinity to the uninitiated.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, like
We are in
Christians,
complete agreement. Christians should stop talking about the
Christians should-
Trinity to the
should
uninitiated.
even stop talking about Christ to the uninitiated because they're not ready to listen or hear. Like I'm
Okay.
going to go way further. like
Okay.
like Christ only makes sense if you've like read the Bible. Like don't talk to Christ to people that have not read the Bible. Like no.
Okay. I mean, I'm not gonna go that far, but if you want to, fine.
No, I will. Like you gotta meet people where they're at, and like most people aren't there. And when
You
they're there,
definitely
they're
have
gonna
to
ask
meet
you.
people where they're at. Yeah. You definitely have to meet people where they're at.
And it's really hard to figure out where they're at. Like that is.
Well, you are a mod on here, so you can keep this stream going if you would like. But
No,
I am gonna
I think I'm good. Yeah.
bow out. Okay, so unless there was anything in particular anybody wanted to talk about in the next 5 minutes, I can end the stream earlier.
Yeah, like I still don't get why the one on the many is a problem, right? Like you can make it a problem if you want an answer, right? It's like it just gets revealed as a consequence of your participation.
So I think you are not currently completely living out the implications of the things you've said. For example, you agree that you submit to your pastor, and yet your pastor would not, I would say, probably agree with the stuff that we agreed to in not
Right,
talking about the Trinity.
the fact that I submit doesn't mean that I see the same thing. I cannot see what I don't see, right? Like that's just nonsensical.
Okay, but are you submitting when you assert things?
No, I'm not
the
asserting
person-
things. I'm telling you the way that I see things, which is different than asserting them. Like
Okay.
what I gave you was an opinion, not a revelation. Okay, like
Okay. I think if you were to talk to your pastor, my guess is he would say that these things which the two of us would say is an opinion and not important, he would say are important. And there's a conflict there between your submission to him and his, I am guessing, assertion of the importance of the Trinity. And that conflict is where I see there being a problem.
Maybe. Like you are agreeing with me that the concept of the Trinity is so complicated that almost no soul has proper understanding of it. So I don't understand why me having a weak understanding versus someone else having not an understanding puts me in conflict and the other person not.
No. The conflict I see is between your submission to your pastor and your theological disagreement with him, which is what I'm guessing exists about the importance of the Trinity.
No, I like I said, I don't see it, right? So like I don't even have a thing to disagree about.
Talk to him and see. Like I would recommend that you actually talk to him about your opinions about Andrew. It's pinning is difficult to do, and we're probably going to end in 5 minutes, unless somebody else who is a admin wants to keep it going.
I could keep it going, but I'm not an admin. So
you
I
are
don't
not
know
an
who's on.
admin, and I don't have enough seats. Honestly, Father Eric is working on his own StreamYard, getting his own StreamYard account going, and that way it's possible we'll have more seats open. But right now, I've been playing musical chairs with my admin seats, and frankly, probably going to pull Manuel and Mark's admin seats soon. Once we figure out how you guys can open up your own. I think we figured it out today. Actually, Father Eric did. How we can get you to be to have your own accounts, and then I can be rid of you guys and have admin seats on my own account.
Oh
back.
no!
Why? Oh no!
That just to tease you.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah. No. So the way it works is StreamYard gives you 1 free admin seats, so 1 free additional seat to your account. So you, even a free account, you have 2 seats, yours and an additional seat. You can buy up to 15 total additional seats for not incredible amounts of money. Like I'm paying less than $1,000 a year for my account right now, with 15 seats and all the bells and whistles. Once you ask for the 16th seat, they want $5,000 a year.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's why I'm trying to get people to open up their own accounts. So I can. I can.
I didn't know it was limited to a number.
Yeah, there's only 15. Yeah, I only have 15 admin seats, and that's why I've been playing musical chairs with people and asking people and telling them, I need to take your seat away. And and so actually.
Yeah, that's totally fair enough then.
So I am probably going to pull, eventually pull Father Eric's seat and possibly Gavin's seat if you can move him over to the other one, and probably because all the people who don't stream to my channel, I'm probably gonna just be like, hey, you guys go get your own thing and we can figure out how to make you stream to Randos United. If you're only streaming to Randos United, then you can get your own thing and do it that way. And then I can have my channel do my things, and that'll work. Sound good?
Yeah, I'm good, dude. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me use it as far as I have been. So.
My pleasure. Okay, I am going to end this stream.